Hello everybody, welcome to another edition of Business in the Real World. I'm delighted today to welcome Simon White. He's a sales trainer and coach. Welcome, Simon.
Good morning, Gary.
Looking forward to our chat. We're going to focus on LinkedIn today. It's one of the things that Simon focuses on with his clients. But before we start, I just wanted to ask you a slightly more general question, Simon. Out there in the real world, when you're talking to business owners, what's the mood at the moment?
Optimistic, pragmatic, just getting on with things. You know, they are just moving forward. They're going out, they're selling, they're growing their businesses. They might have adapted, they might have changed the way they're working a bit, but it's pragmatic. It's people are just getting back to it. They're fed up of,
Yeah. And Omicron, are people reacting to that? Is there any fear that you're seeing?
I've not heard of anything like that. You know, all the face-to-face training courses that I've got booked are all still there. And actually, it might be, based on what's coming out of South Africa, it might even be a blessing because it's, more transmissible and less symptoms. So actually, it might benefit us. But certainly in the business world, no one's even talking about it. Maybe hospitality are, I don't know, but they're not my clients. So.
Understood. So we said we were going to talk about LinkedIn. I want to play the role of the business owner if I can in this conversation. Yeah. And what I certainly see from my clients is often a sense of paralysis because they go out looking for information and knowledge and advice on LinkedIn and other social medias, and they get a big variation in advice. You know, sometimes it's even contradictory. So just from a business owner's perspective, if I'm thinking about adding LinkedIn to my marketing mix, using it as part of my strategy, what do I need to be thinking about?
Well, firstly, what do you want to get out of it? What's your objective? Yeah. That's key. Are you looking to grow your business in terms of acquiring new clients? Are you looking to collaborate with people? Are you looking to build a referral network? What is it you want from it? So what is your objective? Okay. And secondly, and part of that is, if it is selling and you are looking to build, grow your customer base, are your customers actually active on LinkedIn? Yeah. Now, there's 800 million people on LinkedIn worldwide, around 30 million, I think, in the UK. But it doesn't mean they're active. They might not use it from 1 month to the next. So is that the best platform for you? And if it is, brilliant. The next thing is, where are you now? Where do you want to get to? And how are we going to help you bridge that gap? For some companies, LinkedIn will be the whole story. They will do everything via LinkedIn, and that's brilliant if they do it. For other people, it might just be part of the toolkit. They might be on the phone, going to exhibitions, doing networking, etc. So it depends. What do you want to get from it, and is that the best place to reach your customers? That's where I'd start. Okay.
And what do you think the source is of this variation in advice? I mean, we all know that every social media platform has some kind of algorithm behind it, and therefore, when we speak to different specialists, they have a different view on how that algorithm works. What's the root cause of the variation in advice, do you think?
Yeah, because it's constantly changing. You know, it's weird. You know, I could do a training course today and go into the settings area, let's say, to show them a setting I want them to change or advise them to change. Yeah. And it's moved.
Yes.
Because it wasn't there, this time on Monday. So things do move around a bit. The algorithm changes. New reports come out. So if we were talking 3 months ago about the algorithm, I might suggest that actually using 3 hashtags was the best bet to help you gain engagement. Yeah. Research out a couple of weeks ago said actually you want to have 3, 4, or 5 hashtags. Right. So between 3 and 5. Yeah. Less than 3, your engagement drops by 20 to 30%. More than 5 hashtags, it drops by 20 to 30%.
Really?
And if it's more than 9, it plummets quite a bit. So it's constantly changing as new reports and new analysis comes out. That's not always from LinkedIn. That might be from other LinkedIn trainers and coaches who are observing things. So you're always going to get a difference there. And it also depends on the background of that LinkedIn trainer. I mean, mine is sales. I will help you grow your business through LinkedIn. Okay, and I often say to my clients, I'm not an expert in LinkedIn, but I'll show you how to make money from it. Right. That's my thing. Yeah. But if you've got a LinkedIn trainer whose background is marketing or branding, or they were a copywriter, they're all going to have a slightly different angle on it. So in my world, I'm not the right solution for everybody. But if you want more clients, then maybe it's worth having a conversation.
Yeah. And is there a lot of transparency around the LinkedIn algorithm, or do they guard it like some of the other
a bit
platforms
of,
do?
yeah, a bit like the dark arts a little bit. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's yeah. Some people do game the system in terms of the algorithm, and they're very specific in how they're doing it. But yeah, it is. I mean, there was some. I mean, the research came out a few weeks ago, and it was like, wow, that's interesting. But yeah, LinkedIn aren't necessarily the ones promoting it. It's more hearsay in some areas. Yeah, and that's where it comes from.
Okay. So I'm a business owner and I want to do business with other business owners, and I'm going to use LinkedIn as a platform to do that. And I imagine those other business owners, they've got, their Facebook feed, they've got their Instagram feed, they've got their LinkedIn feed, they've got, a dozen WhatsApp groups that they're tracking all day long. On LinkedIn, how are you going to grab people's attention? What's working now in B2B?
Okay. So the first thing I would say, the first rule of LinkedIn is a time thief. So before you even start anything, know that you need to manage your time, because you might think you're going to go on it for an hour and then you blink and it's 3 or 4 hours later and you've lost half a day.
Yeah.
So be very clear on how much time you're going to spend on it. What's your return on investment hopefully going to be, and your return on effort going to be as well. So be clear on managing your time. But the first thing to do is get your shop window looking good. So make sure you've got a good photo. Make sure you've got a good banner, that your headline is descriptive and not just your job title.
Yeah.
So it's who you work with, how you can help. So you've got a descriptive headline. Your about section, written in first person, tells your story, but also has some contact information in there as well. Be easy to buy from.
Right.
Make sure that you've got all of your career history up to date, and that takes people on that journey as well, from where you started to where you are now.
Yeah.
Ask for recommendations, give recommendations, join relevant groups, get the shop window looking good. Because if you don't do any of those things, and you've got no photo and you've got no banner, and the headline just says managing director, and the about section is 2 lines which was a copy and paste from your website, then it is the equivalent of a shop window that's dusty with a load of dead flies in it. It's not going to entice you in.
Yeah.
So first of all, get the foundations right. And I'm a big believer, if you get the basics right, the rest will follow.
So we haven't posted anything yet. We've not said anything. We've not contacted anyone. We've not connected to anybody at this point.
No, well, you wouldn't do an advert in real life to get people to go to your shop if they rocked up to your shop and it was filthy with dead flies in the window. You've got to get the shop looking good before you even start to point people to it. So first thing, and it's the first hour, 90 minutes of any training course I do on LinkedIn, is let's look at the foundations. Get the profile right, the banner, the picture, the about section, the headline, etc. Get that right. And it's not like printing a brochure when you've done it once and it's stuck. I'm constantly tweaking what I'm doing, adding different words in, adding different stuff, changing stuff. I changed my banner just the other day. Just tweak it. It evolves.
Do you get any credit, if I can use that term, for constantly changing content? We know Google likes websites that are regularly updated and things. Does LinkedIn give you any credit for that?
I don't know of any research to back that up. I don't know. Maybe there is, but I'm not aware of it. I wouldn't be doing it just for the sake of it. I do on my website. I make changes because of that. But I made changes the other day because I thought, I want to make a few tweaks. I'm not happy with what I've written there, and that kind of stuff. So So that's the first thing. Get your foundations right.
Yeah.
All the rest is fluff. It ain't going to work until you've got your foundations.
Right. Are there any obvious howlers? I mean, you mentioned the things we should do, but do you see profiles where you look at it and you go, well, really that is just going to turn people off or push them away?
Not having a banner is one, because you want it draws your eyes in. So have a banner, have a photo. If you don't have a photo, you'll get a lot less profile views and a lot less connections accepted. So you're going to have a photo. It doesn't have to be professionally paid for, but it just something when you're looking at the camera and smiling and you look professionally dressed for whatever profession you're in.
You're not on holiday. There's no dog in the photo.
All of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Writing in first person is advisable because it's your story.
Yeah.
Not having contact details is an issue because people go, "Hey, I don't need contact details." They know how to. No, they can only contact you through LinkedIn if they're connected to you or they're paying for one of the premium versions. If they're on basic version, you need to put your phone number, web address, whatever in your about section. Don't make them go and look for it, because if you make them go and look for it, they won't, because they'll go for somebody else who's already got it there. So so that's howlers there. Not asking for recommendations. ask for recommendations. That's that third-party endorsement.
Yeah.
I saw somebody who would be a competitor of mine, and they had like 1 or 2 recommendations, and I thought, what's that say? Either you're not asking for them, which is probably the truth, or you're not getting them. So ask for recommendations, and that's important. To have that. If you don't have the recommendations and you don't have a good about section, and also your career progression, if it just has the current job you're in and nothing else before that, how did you get to be the managing director of that company? You started off as an assistant and as a manager or whatever. Share that with people and give a bit of detail to each of those jobs. What was the company? What did you do there? And maybe a link to their website or something to tell people. And you can go back and tweak that so it makes more sense for where you end up. But that's what I would be doing.
Okay, so let's say we've got the profile up and running, and it looks fairly smart, and we're not going to turn anybody away by what they see. In fact, we're going to attract people by telling a great story. I guess in terms of posting, we've got so many different choices, right? We can educate, we can just inform people, we can share other people's stuff. What grabs attention in your experience?
Well, that's it. So the process I would go through before we get to posting, everyone loves posting because it gives us that nice hit of, whoa, look, I've had all these likes. But once you get your profile right, the next thing I'd be doing is looking up on LinkedIn all those people who I would consider my prospects.
Right.
So maybe it's people I've spoken to in the past but didn't buy from me. Maybe it's people who I've worked with in the past but don't work with anymore. Maybe it's people that I've met at exhibitions, people who I'd love to work with. Start looking at those people, going onto their profiles, going onto their posts, commenting on their posts, liking their posts. Maybe direct messaging them as well, saying, or sending them a connection request, saying, I'm really enjoying your most recent post. And you might write that. You might do an audio message. You might do it even video yourself, sending them that message. So I would start doing that. That's how you start to build your tribe, if you want to call it that, your connections, and start growing that. And yes, you're right. Posting's going to be important. But actually, for me, if there was one piece of advice, comment more and post less. People often go, I don't know what to post about, or they'll spend Sunday night for a couple of hours working out what they're going to be posting that week. Well, if you're spending Sunday night 2 hours working out what you're going to post, what are you not doing on Sunday night? Well, you're not spending it with the family. You're not doing whatever else the options are. So find out who's in your target audience. Go visit their profiles, connect with them, comment on their posts, direct message them. Not salesy. We're not talking about trying to be salesy in the messaging section of LinkedIn. It's not about that. It's about just building that up first and then start posting. And if you're going to post,
can I just
go on, please?
Because you've obviously triggered the idea of building your connections.
Yeah.
There are companies out there that offer services. There are software apps out there that offer services to build your connections. Any thoughts on that and how that works in the real world?
Yeah, so it depends on what bit you're outsourcing. So if you're outsourcing the connection part, and you have given that person who is experienced, and you've given them a very tight brief, I want to connect with managing directors in these sectors, in these size of companies, in this part of the UK or this part of the world, whatever it is.
Yep.
And you've agreed what the template connection request will be, and you agree when they do connect with you what you're going to send them back, and you've put some templates in place. That is something you can outsource. But I wouldn't be outsourcing the writing of posts or the writing of comments. I think tone of voice is important. You can, and the key thing that's often missed, and it's one of the things that I just annoys me when I see it, is somebody who posts on LinkedIn and people comment on that post, but they don't respond to those comments.
Right. Yeah.
I liken it to like you're driving, and you're driving along, and it's a busy road, and you flash somebody on a side road to pull out. Okay, they're struggling. You flash them, and they pull out. What do you expect that person to do?
Yeah, to acknowledge
They acknowledge it. They put their hazards on. They flash their lights. They wave, whatever.
Yeah.
What happens when they don't do that? you think, oh, I wish I hadn't let you out now. And that's kind of the same when you're growing your network with connecting. If you send someone a connection request and they connect, say thank you. Thank you for connecting. I look forward to reading more of your posts. Whatever it is, give them that flash of lights. Acknowledge that they've done that, because that. So often when I see them, people outsource the posting. They'll outsource it, and they will just. It's almost like dumping flyers through people's letterboxes. They'll dump a post, and that's it. They don't even look at it again. And actually, you've got to be really on it. Anyone who comments on your post, like their comment, even if you don't agree with it. Because you're not liking it, you're acknowledging it. Yeah. Some people will ask you a question, you have to respond to that, etc. And that's what, again, helps the algorithm. The more that happens in the comment section of your post, the bigger the smile the algorithm has, and the more it pushes it out. So, yeah, that's just kind of...
The bigger the smile.
The bigger the smile.
That's interesting for the algorithm. Yeah. All right, so we're building a tribe, and we are connecting with people that we think we want to talk to, and now we're getting to that point where we're thinking, if we want to inform or educate this group of people or entertain them in some way, then we've got to start thinking about the content that we push out. Now, some people have said that they feel like LinkedIn is becoming a bit like Facebook in terms of the content, but from a B2B perspective, where would you start with that?
Okay, so it is becoming quite like Facebook if you don't train LinkedIn properly. Right. So if you're connected to somebody who is posting a lot of Facebook stuff, you can unfollow them. You don't have to disconnect from them. Just unfollow them, mute them. And then if you do want to, in my world, I want to see a lot more around sales and LinkedIn and management and whatever. Yeah. I follow those hashtags. So most of my feed is going to be quality, not the Facebooky stuff. So you have that control. In terms of what to post, you have to get that balance between being educational and and informative and interesting and trying to limit the promotional side of it too much. Yes, it is all promotional, but don't just be outright salesy, because that will turn people off. And you have a choice. You could do plain text, short posts or long posts. You can use video. You can use pictures. You can use a mixture of those things, and you can do polls. Now we know polls.
No, not polls.
Now we know that a lot of our feed is now full of polls.
Yeah.
And some of them are great, and some of them are a waste of time. And people doing polls about how do you think this will impact business, that kind of stuff. Love it. It's brilliant. It's got a place.
Yeah.
Whether you put the jam on on first, or your cream on first, on your scone, or whether it's scone or scone or whatever. Now, if you were a chef or owned a restaurant, that makes sense, and that's completely fine. If you're an accountant asking that question, you're obviously asking it for a reason. If the reason is you've just had an argument with your spouse about it, then again, there's some context. If you're doing it just to get some likes, that dopamine hit, hey, look at me, then that probably isn't going to fill your pipeline. And that's the trouble. When I see a poll, I look at what that person does for a living. Does it make sense? Yes, brilliant. If it doesn't, like the scone, accountant scenario, then maybe that's not the right way of doing it.
What do the stats tell us about polls then? Are they effective?
They're far. Yeah, that's where the engagement is. Yeah, I did a poll 2 weeks ago, 240,000 views. Right. Okay, and it was a poll about I'd phoned a hotel, and the person on the other end of the phone called me during the same conversation, called me mate and pal.
Right.
So my question was, as a sales trainer, somebody who does customer services training, it's all about communication. Is that a professional way to professional language to use? And what is great about that kind of question is half the people think one thing and half the people think the other, that's how it goes up, right? Yeah. And it made sense because of what I do for a living to ask that question. Now, the 240,000 views and lots of comments, lots of votes, it's time consuming. The thing that people don't talk about is there is the dark side of having successful posts. It kills a lot of time. LinkedIn is a time thief, as we said.
Yeah.
So all of those people who commented needed an acknowledgement from me, so at least a like. Some of them posted a question or multiple questions in a conversation. They all needed a reply to. There was a couple of call it weirdos, I'd say, who were rude. Right. They always come out, those sort of trolls. So they needed deleting. So there's all of that. I know I probably lost on that, which is only 240,000, and some people can have posts that get millions of views. It's still, I would have lost hours responding to that.
And does the poll? I mean, I haven't used polls certainly in the last couple of years on LinkedIn, but does the information that you get as a consequence of being the poll creator, other than what appears in the comments, is it richer in the sense of you being able to go back and connect with people more effectively?
So you know who voted which way. So
Right.
So if you said, as a coach yourself, if you did a poll, would a coach be useful in your business? I'm not saying you would do that one, but if you did that, all those people who said yes, you'd know who said yes, and then you could go and connect with them, message them, phone them, whatever you want to do with them. So yes, it is rich in that way, and that's one of the benefits of polls. All those people who agreed with your point of view might, in your tribe, you can now go and connect with and say thank you for voting in my recent poll on the subject of, it'd be great to connect with another like-minded person. So you could do that kind of stuff. That's a big advantage.
One of the things that we did in my book club was They Ask You Answer by Marcus Sheridan, about content marketing, and he talks a lot in there about video marketing. I'm wondering whether LinkedIn prefers video. I see, and I do this myself sometimes, where I'll put a little clip in that I've uploaded into LinkedIn, and then I send people off to YouTube. Yeah. And when you look at that whole video thing, how does LinkedIn treat that? Do they get annoyed when you send people away?
Well, that's really been changing in the last month or so.
Right.
So it used to be the rule, the unwritten rule, that on LinkedIn, if you put an external link to a YouTube video, let's say, in the body of the post, it would die. Being that LinkedIn wants to keep all the eyes on the platform, and if you send someone to another platform, they may not come back that day, and you've lost them for the day. So they would penalise you for it. Recent research is saying that actually that may no longer be the case. That said, it is better to upload the video directly to LinkedIn, and that if there was one rule with video, keep it short and have subtitles, because when someone's on the train, and we're getting back to work, going on trains and doing that kind of stuff, or they're sat in a meeting prior to a meeting starting, or they're in a reception area, something like that, and they're watching the video, they're going to have it with the sound off. So have the captions there. That would be, if you're going to do video, make it short. There's I use always in my training. Back in the 90s, there was a band called Roxette, and they had an album, and I'm pretty certain it was called Don't Bore Us, Get to the Chorus. So when you're going to, and I love that. I think that's a really great thing in sales and coaching and stuff. So when you are posting a video, yes, you might have done a 45-minute video, but unless it's your mum or a competitor, are they going to watch the whole thing? So short snippets, it works better. 90 seconds, couple of minutes with captions, that's the best way of doing it on LinkedIn. Warm people up, maybe give them for the full video, visit my website or whatever, or we'll be releasing little snippets over the next couple of weeks. But short and with captions would be my advice on that. And choose the hashtags wisely. We've got broad hashtags like business. You've got niche hashtags like Peterborough business, and you want a mixture of those.
So, I mean, that's interesting because, of course, what I do see people doing is, creating a post and it's got some content in it, and they put the link in the first comment.
Yes.
Do we get a sense that LinkedIn is fooled in some way by that?
So it used to be fooled like that, and that was the advice that every LinkedIn trainer would do. Put it as the first comment. Yeah. But recent research I've read will say don't do it in the first comment like that, because if you, as the author, is the first person to put a comment in, that can also have a negative effect. So that's the thing with the algorithm. We can lose sleep over it. It's a tough master, the LinkedIn algorithm. It's always changing. Research is always inevitably out of date.
Yeah.
And the nuances of every region, of every sector, all make a difference. What works, in one sector isn't going to work necessarily in another sector. If you contact, with a managing director, it is always slightly different. So find out what works for you and keep doing it. If it works well, and if it doesn't, keep tweaking it.
Now, something popped into my head as you were talking there about the way people engage with posts. I've heard about people setting up pods, where they get together with a group of friends, and that group of friends is liking and sharing and commenting on these posts. I suppose it's the same sort of question, really. Do you think LinkedIn is wise to that, and they spot that, and it still restricts the distribution?
So you can end up in LinkedIn jail, as it's known, if you use pods, because it does go against the terms and conditions. Whether its algorithm spots it, I'm sure it does. But everybody who reads it can spot it. Because in the scenario you painted there of, maybe it's you and a group of your friends get together, that's okay, in that respect, because you're all going to take some time to write a decent comment and supporting each other, or maybe it was people in your book club, all that kind of stuff. It kind of makes sense that you might have a WhatsApp group to say, look, I'm doing a post today. If anyone's around and you can comment on it, it'd be appreciated. That's different to what some people do. Some people actually pay to be in pods. And that pod might have 50 people or 100 people. And they all tap each other on the back kind of thing, pat each other on the back. And their comments are worthless in a human eyeball way. It'll be something, I saw one, because I know it was one of my clients uses a pod, and he was basically reducing his prices for that month, and some of the comments said things like, "Oh, inspiring post, keep up the great work," and it's so good to hear you doing so well. It was all that, and but hang on, none of those comments marry up to what the post was, and that's the downside of using.
I saw one yesterday where. The guy was promoting, I think, a fitness, weight training type thing, and every third comment was, "Do you mind if I ask a question?" Yeah. "Oh yeah, please do, go ahead." And then there's this kind of trail underneath it, and I'm thinking it looks and feels manufactured at that point.
Yeah, that's the trouble. I always say, when you're writing a post, when you're writing your profile, write it for a human, but be aware of the algorithm. So when you're writing your profile, yes, you want to have some keywords in there like you would on your website, but don't make it too keyword rich that it doesn't make sense to the human reading it. So write for a human, be aware there's a robot looking at it as well. And that's the same on your posts, and the same with all of that kind of stuff. So I'm not in a pod. I've never been in a pod. I wouldn't advise anyone to do it, because you can usually see it. Now, those posts will get a higher level of views. But if you're paying somebody in a different country, or being part of a pod and you're paying them and they're in a different country and they're just writing some comment that makes no sense, is it really adding value? Are you really going to, is it, if your KPI is I want loads of views, then maybe, but that's not the best KPI to have on LinkedIn.
All right, so we've spent a little bit of time creating a good and an attractive profile. We've spent some time connecting with the right people. We're building up a tribe, as you call them, in terms of people who we want to be communicating with. We're posting some stuff. We're trying to be informative and educational and maybe entertaining. But what we really want is a conversation. So where do we go with converting all of this digital stuff into a proper conversation between two human beings?
Well, the first place that I go is straight to my profile views. Who has looked at my profile that day? And I pay for a premium version of LinkedIn, so I can see who's looked at my profile over the last 90 days. Right. So if they come to my profile and they look interesting to me, so they might work in sales or marketing or be a business owner, whatever it is, and then usually they're based in the UK, I will send them a message because I have a premium, so I'll send them an email along the lines of, "I saw you visited my profile today. Is there anything I can help you with?" Simple as that. Simple, The amount of work I have just from doing that's a good takeaway from today. Because it's interesting that people will look at your profile, and because there is overwhelm, because if they typed in sales trainer, there's thousands. So if they come onto my profile, I'm not the only person who can help them. There'll be others. So they'll look at my profile and someone else's profile and someone else's and someone else's, and they'll forget they even went on mine. And so if I then message them, how, is there anything I can help you with, or what brought you to my profile today, something like that, the amount of people who go, actually, we're looking for a sales training course. So that's the first place I go.
Would you ever do that with an audio message? Because I think when you're using the phone-based app, you can send an audio message, can't you?
Yeah, so I would normally just do that bit just as plain text. Right. When I'm following up with people, when I'm keeping in touch with existing clients or old people I used to work with, anything like that, I'll usually do audio. Sometimes I'll do video. Right. And I always make sure that it's personalised. So I'll always use their name. And if you do that, it's amazing how, because, for example, if I give someone a proposal and it doesn't turn into anything, and maybe 3 months later I might send them a video message, and I might say, hold the phone up at the right angle and go, "Hi Gary, it's Simon," and they come back and say, "Thank you, that's a really nice approach, you personalised it." Again, it's as a sales trainer, everything you do has to be in line with what you would teach them.
Yes, yeah.
Because you can't,
congruent.
You can't be rubbish on the phone, but teach them how to, you've got to do it the right way. So the first thing I do about taking the conversation offline is anyone who views my profile, I will message them.
Right.
If I didn't have LinkedIn Premium, I would send them a connection request with the same message. Thanks for visiting my profile, or I saw you visiting my profile, anything I can help you with. If you've got the basic version, you can only see up to the last 5 people who viewed your profile. If you've got one of the premium versions, you'll see everyone in the last 90 days, unless they are in secret mode. They're hiding themselves for whatever reason, headhunters or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing I do. Another thing I do is, because I've been commenting on the posts of my target audience, I will send them a connection request at some point, and it's important to get the timing here, a bit of time delay. So if I've got my hit list of people I would like to work with, I go onto their profile, I'm doing a comment, I've done a few comments over a few weeks, then I might send them a connection request. When they accept, I'll send them the thank you for doing it. Mm-hmm. I then might, a few weeks later, send them an audio message or a video message or a written message. Depending on what I get back from that, I might suggest having a conversation with them, and I will share with you the most powerful word in sales, the most persuasive word in sales. Let's grab a coffee. Let's speak next week. Let's have a meeting. Let's have a chat. Assertive without being pushy. It is the best way of doing it. There's a lot of similarities between selling and dating. Right. And imagine a dating scenario where the guy says, would you like to go out for a drink sometime? Versus, let's grab a coffee sometime soon. Which one is more likely to come out of Richard Gere's mouth? Okay, you see the difference. And that is the most powerful. There's lots of research on powerful words, but that is something, and that's something people will get from me that they won't get from another LinkedIn trainer. I don't just train people in LinkedIn. I train people in networking and face-to-face sales and telesales and exhibitions and all the other stuff. And therefore, when we're talking about this kind of stuff in training, I will share with them those kind of words, those kind of techniques that aren't strictly LinkedIn stuff, but it's going to help them sell. As I said at the beginning, I'm not an expert in LinkedIn, but I'll show you how to get clients from it, or I'll show you how to get money from it.
You mentioned there a couple of times the premium services. Obviously, everyone can get the free version, but is it worth investing in some of the types of LinkedIn service?
It depends, is the answer to that. It depends on how much time you're going to spend on LinkedIn. And goes back to that first question you asked, or one of the first questions you asked, is what is the objective? If it is to grow your pipeline, then yes, it is going to be worth it, because you get benefits. And there's different versions, but different premium versions. So the basic version is great for most people. But if you are sending out lots of messages, or you want to send out in-mail, so an in-mail is a message that you can send to anybody, even if you're not connected to them. Yeah. And I pay for my premium about £50 a month for the basic premium version. So I don't get any restrictions on how many searches I can do. I don't have any restrictions on how many people who I see have viewed my profile, and I can send in mails as well. So that's the benefit to me. So if you are a business owner and you're a salesperson who also does other things. So you're a salesperson who also looks after some of the key accounts, who also probably gets involved in some of the fulfillment of that work. Yeah. Then that basic version, either the basic version or the LinkedIn Premium would be ideal. Right. If you are a full-time sales hunter, your job is to go out there prospecting all day long. That's all you do. You win that deal, you hand it over to operations, you are just selling. Then you might consider Sales Navigator or something like that, where you have a lot more functionality, where you can see when people have moved roles and all that kind of stuff, which might be a trigger point for what you're selling. So LinkedIn basic free version is probably fine for most people. If you are selling, you might consider paying £50 a month for the premium. And if you are absolutely 100% hunter, then you might go for Sales Navigator, which is more money. But I would go back to what we spoke about getting the shop window right. Get the basics right first. There are lots of companies big companies who pay for all their sales team to have Sales Navigator, but they still don't have a photo, a banner, a good, and the big company, big corporate doesn't really care. They just, we give all our salespeople Navigator. Are they using it right? Can they even use the basic stuff right? And do they understand the fundamentals of persuasive communication? Because that is what selling is.
Okay. So we're starting to convert these connections into real conversations, and hopefully that's going to lead to some business. I was thinking about the way LinkedIn is developing. We talked a little bit about it becoming a little bit like Facebook, but there's lots of other things that we see. We see LinkedIn groups, we see LinkedIn Live, we see those kind of things that they're adding features to it all the time. Where do you think LinkedIn's going? What's coming for LinkedIn?
I worry that it's becoming feature heavy. I do worry that they're always bringing out the next shiny thing to distract people. Yeah. But they could argue that it entertains people and keeps people interested. But for salespeople are easily distracted. Yeah, it's like sometimes like a kitten with one of those laser pointers.
Yes,
always, and I say that as a salesperson as well. We are easily distracted. I would like to see more emphasis on groups. Right. I think there's around 2 million groups on LinkedIn. 2 million.
Wow.
We don't need all of those, I'm sure. And most of those don't get used. I'm in quite a few different groups, and if you look down, rarely do people post. If they do post, those posts don't get any engagement. So most of the engagement happens in your main feed. So I think the groups need an overhaul. Not quite sure what I mean by that, but they're not really used. Whether LinkedIn should delete all of those groups and then you have to reset them up, or any that haven't had a certain amount of activity for a period of time should be deleted.
Let them go.
But there needs to be an overhaul in groups. I would like to see that.
I mean, are they they're like official pods in a way, aren't they? Where they're getting people together with similar interests or similar geography or something like that, and
and
together.
There is a really nice part of LinkedIn that a lot of people don't realise. I spoke about, if you've got the premium version, you can use InMail as a way of messaging people for as part of the package. But if you're in the same group as somebody else, so let's say you and I were both in a group called Peterborough Coaches or something,
yes,
and we weren't connected, I could still message you for free because we're in the same group.
Yeah.
So if you sell to manufacturers, you might join a manufacturing group. Now you can message everybody individually, one-on-one, who is in that group. Now, it's a bit clunky that you can't really sort it properly and it's not perfect. But if I was trying to get hold of somebody and I'd sent them a connection request and they didn't accept it, I couldn't get a hold of them by the phone or email. I didn't pay for InMail myself. So I was thinking, well, how do I would see what groups they're in. I'd join one of those groups and now I can message them. So that
is a clever little workaround. Yeah.
It is. It's not perfect, but it works.
And what about LinkedIn events then? Because of course, lots of people on LinkedIn are promoting their own seminars and webinars and things like that. Again, that feels to me like it's a little bit clunky sometimes. Do you think they could improve that some way?
Firstly, is using LinkedIn for your events the right thing for you as a business? Is that where your prospects, customers, whoever are hanging out? If they are, then that might be the right route for you. In terms of LinkedIn Live and things like that, people get quite scared about doing live broadcasts and that kind of thing. But if it works for you, do it. And if it doesn't work for you, you try it. I think more people should be more at home doing video and doing audio.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I was training a company this week, and they were outbound on the phone doing phone calls to make appointments, and I said, how often are you listening to your own phone calls back? And these are very experienced, very talented salespeople phoning over the phone. And they're, oh no, I don't want to listen to my own voice. I hate my own voice. And you think, well, look, if you can't even listen to your own voice, when you move into doing stuff on LinkedIn, how are you going to actually hold that camera or get that tripod out, look into the camera and start talking? So yeah, I think we have to overcome that confidence, the issue with confidence. But if it works for you, if that's where your target audience is, and you're comfortable doing LinkedIn Live, you're comfortable doing those events, then do it. Is my advice.
Okay.
If it works, do more of it. If it doesn't work, well, don't tell anybody.
So I guess one of the things we've learned today is that you can't do all of this LinkedIn activity and just kind of let it roll. You've got to measure what's going on. What are your thoughts on capturing how well your LinkedIn campaign is doing?
Absolutely. So you've got to be really clear on what success looks like. So before you even start, understand your value, understand how much it's costing you to be involved in LinkedIn. If you're going to spend 3 hours doing a LinkedIn post, how much does that cost you? If you're £100 an hour to your clients, that's cost you £300. So you want to make sure you're going to get the right return from it. But there are certain things that I would be measuring. So one, I would look at your social selling index, your SSI, as we call it in LinkedIn. So if you don't know how to find it, open up LinkedIn, open up a fresh tab and go to linkedin.com/sales/SSI. And what that will show you, it has a dashboard and there'll be a number in the middle of it with a number out of 100. And it might say 50, it might say 30, it might be 75, whatever it is out of 100, and then it'll break it down to what that means. It's interesting, but I wouldn't lose sleep over it. Okay, I looked at mine a couple of days ago, just out of curiosity to see where it's at the moment.
I feel like I ought to put mine on screen and see what it is. Yeah.
If I had a group of salespeople, I might get them all to look at it, tell me what it is, take a screenshot of it, and maybe look in 6 weeks' time, see how it's changed, and maybe there'd be some sort of little prize for the person who'd made the biggest gain. I would do something like that to make it fun. But for me, the key KPIs are how many profile views have I had? That's an important measurement for me. How many profile views? And how many conversations have I had as a result, real world conversations have I had as a result of my LinkedIn activity? How many of those have ended up in my pipeline? And ultimately,
really important statistics.
Yeah.
Not likes, not comments, not shares.
Yeah. Now, that's great for the dopamine hit, but ultimately, because my wife will see me on LinkedIn, on my phone, in bed at night, looking on LinkedIn, and so I need to be able to say to her, I've made money this year from LinkedIn. Sure. And that's what it's about. Are you getting clients? Are you just, the more conversations we have, the more opportunities we discover, the more people we can help, the more deals we can close, the more money we make. And that's what it's about.
And what a great place to finish, actually. that the more conversations, the more deals, the more money we make. That's what it is about in business to business. We are trying to create clients and have those conversations with them. Simon, that's been priceless, actually, in terms of advice. I really appreciate we've cantered through everything from the profile to the creating real conversations. I appreciate your time today.
Thank you, Gary.
Thanks very much for coming along.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.